Okay, here's the second site. As you can see, the flag is placed where the last sample was pulled, but since then there's most likely been a tillage pass and planting, so you don't see where the sample was exactly pulled, but that is the middle of the template. So I'm making a spot just a little away from it, and I'm placing the template so that that flag is right in the middle. I don't know if you can see that, but that's not bad. And then I don't want any roots, so I try to avoid that. Pull my bags out. First thing I do is put my bucket down, and I lock it with a peg or with a pin. That way, if the wind's blowing, I won't chase it across the field. I'm old enough now that I've learned I can't chase it, so I just have to wait until it stops. Now I pin down my template, as you can see. Oh shoot, slipped on my flag. Here we go. I pin it down so it doesn't move. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting down my parts, and I'm going to collect my tissue sample first, because I got to make a bare spot before I leave the site. And since I'm going to make a bare spot, I'm going to pull 5 feet on either side of the template on the row that I know I'm sampling. Now the reason I do that is that if somebody's knifing in nitrogen, like with anhydrous ammonia, the variation knife to knife on the anhydrous ammonia bar could vary the nitrogen rate of application significantly, maybe 15 or more %. So I want to sample the same row with the plant as I do with the sample, so that I get some kind of continuity. I try to avoid of this sampling error. Okay, so here we go. Now I did not bring my knife again, so I'm going to snap them off right at the surface. I snap them off because I don't want the soil. Now with tissue analysis, unless you wash the samples, which I don't recommend, you're going to get high iron and aluminum. Now why? Because soils are comprised primarily of iron and aluminum. So when you do a tissue analysis that's got some soil on it, you're going to get a reading of high iron and aluminum. So I don't really pay much attention if I do to those analysis. I'm pulling 12 plants. Now, what I have to do before I leave the site is, you notice I snapped the plants off to put in my sample. However, I've got to go back and dig up the roots, because all I snapped off was a bunch of leaves. Remember, there's no stalk until the growing point moves above ground and grows, and that's going to be at leaf stage V6. And the leaf stages that I have here, if you look closely, if you can see this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's only 4 leaves with collars. So this is V4. So it's going to be another 6 to 10 days before the growing point gets at or above ground. So I got to rip it all out. If I don't, when I come back, there's just going to be plants where I sampled. And the problem, I have to make this bare site because I want some kind of an indicator of mineralization. If we remove the plants on a 10-foot by 10-foot area and sample out of the middle, theoretically, the soil is going to mineralize nitrogen and nothing's going to happen to it. So my soil nitrogen levels should go up significantly because of mineralization. We talk about 30 pounds for every % of organic matter throughout the summer. So I anticipate that. Well, when I come back at tassel time, it should be as much as 100 or more pounds more nitrogen in this spot. However, if I come back and the nitrogen is the same or less, that tells me it's a good indicator that significant nitrogen loss has occurred. So that if a farmer wants one last opportunity to put on a little nitrogen, it'll be a signal that he can do that. And really, I could come back at any time after today's sampling date and pull a sample if we had some significant rain, even if it was V7, V10, anytime, pull a sample out of the middle to get an indicator if we had significant nitrogen loss through, mainly in this area, denitrification. So I think it's a really cool tool to do that. And nobody else has that, but you have to sample now, make the bare spot so you have a baseline and then a benchmark to compare the numbers to when you come back after a significant rain event to see if there was any loss. Okay, so, and as you can see, hopefully you can see that I have all this pre-labeled to make it a lot easier when I'm sampling. So that's my tissue. And now I'm not going to make the bare spot, but I'm going to go ahead and pull my samples. And if you can see, this is priceless because this helps me clean the probe each time. Got a little bit from the last site, but that's okay. We'll clean that with my finger. And here we go. So we're going to go down. Ooh, this is going very well. Easy to pull that upper foot. Look at the probe, there's a mark that tells me there's 12 inches, and I put this across so that I can hit it to the top of the bucket, empty it out, and then that pokes out that little piece at the end. Now I do this significantly at a good pace, so you can see, you can develop a rhythm if you're not talking, which I am. Now I have to admit, I've worked with some samplers in the past. I'll mention him by name. Jason Solberg, who is the interim president of IFCA right now. Great guy. And he's a tough man to beat. I think he's pulled the most samples in one day. I've tried to get close, but I have to admit defeat. I'll come in second place. Now, Dan Schaefer may argue with me as well because he's pulled a lot of samples too, so maybe I should say I'll come in third place. But I will say I pull more samples than Emerson Knopfziger, so Dr. Knopfziger, you're going to have to settle for fourth place. What surprises me as we're pulling the sample is why more people don't do this. I've been doing this for well over 12 years, and I am so impressed with what it does. It gives me, it's an estimate, but it's a heck of a lot better estimate than what people are currently using. And if they limit the depth, they're doing it because they don't want to pull the sample. This is my opinion. And the number of cores and everything, they're doing it to simplify it for their own purposes. But I say, and then they don't want to do ammonium and nitrate because they say they don't need ammonium. Well, you do. So again, the samples I pull are the 2 feet down, 1 foot increments, and I do both nitrates and ammonium, which are both plant available, and you need them both to estimate the way I'm doing it. Okay, now if I don't fall down, there we go. We got 10 cores. Top foot, nice black soil here in East Central Illinois. Now I looked to make sure the bag says 0012, that means 0 to 12 inches. I put them under my foot, the extra one, because the wind tends to blow the bag, and again, I'm not going to chase it. I lost that ability a while back, probably when I was 60. Okay. People come with me and they say, well, Howard, let me help you. And really you can't, because you develop a rhythm by doing it yourself. So anybody coming just kind of goofs it up. So people can watch, but normally I don't allow them to participate. And you talk about being bored, you got to be out in the field pulling samples. The worse than that is being out in the field watching somebody else pull samples. Okay, sample number 1's done. Anchored the bucket. Now I'm going back in the same hole. This is the magic of what we call the backsaver probe, because the backsaver probe goes down to the 2nd foot. Oh, now this is a bad core because it didn't get all the way up. For some reason it jammed, but that's okay. I'm not going to throw it away. We'll see if number 2 works. Huh. There it goes. Yep. It looked like it was also compressed. I don't know what's going on here. Huh. Oh, this is a jammed one. Oh gosh, I hate these. It's hard to get out of the soil. Woo! Oh, now you can see how this is flat. So I must have hit a rock or something, and it was hard to pull it out, so it scraped off the front of this core, but I'm still going to use it. I have to beat it out, and then sometimes that's what I have here. Now, if somebody would make a new one, they should make an angled end so that I could easily scrape that out. And once I get down to that, turn the probe up, and then I have to push like heck. That's the purpose of that washer, is to keep you from pinching your hand, especially when you're doing something like that. Okay, now I've got the core out, but I need to clean it just in case the clay on the end of the probe is jamming it up. So I'm going to clean it off. Okay. Now, I don't remember which one I was in. So what I normally do is I use the flag as a way to determine where I've ended. So I pulled number 3, but I haven't pulled 4. And the reason I know that is that staff is 24 inches long. So when it only goes in 12 inches, I know that's where I'm at. I don't know why this one's pulling so hard. It is pulling really hard. Okay. Okay. I have the holes numbered so I can remember, if I'm not daydreaming, where to go back to. And this site really gonna want me make sure I take a nap after lunch today. Whew. You get a rhythm to this, and you also get a feel for the depth you have to go to get that second core. I would say most times I can do a sample of site, clear it off in 25 minutes. That's taking the tissue, removing the plants, and then pulling the 2 soil samples. I will also collect the geo-coordinates of this location just to make sure I have it. But since I make a bare spot, when I come back to pull the tassel time or the pre-pollination sample, I'll use a drone, find the bare spot, makes it a lot easier. Good core. Okay, it won't always be that way. Okay, here we go in the second sample. Now I pull the bag up. I don't worry about any wind because I don't have an empty bag to blow. My bucket has a sample in it. Keep it, and then here's my second. Oh, man, getting tired. Okay, here's this. Here's my tissue. Now the only thing left is to clean off the site. So I'll go ahead, put everything up. I have to have 5 parts so I don't leave anything behind. So I've got three pins, a cleaner, that's 4, and then my plunger, which is 5. So I got all my parts. My hat's falling off. Here we go. I'll move this out of the zone of activity. Now it's time for destruction. Now I'll put this flag in the middle of my template just in case the rain washes them shut, so I'll know exactly where I pulled this sample. Okay, now I gotta make sure I tear up the growing points, because again, they're below ground, so these plants that I broke off will come back. Okay, so you can see I try to break them up like that there. Okay, now I got, let's see here, 3, 4, 5. I'd say that's 5 feet there. 3, 5, right to about here. So got to tear them out. And then I got these to tear out. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now since I'm sampling here, I'll need to go 2 rows and 2 rows. So here we go. Now this gets old really quick, but this little hook makes a bad job easy, or easier, I should say. It tears them right out. Got to tear them at the roots, because again, the growing point is below ground. I had one site last year. Was it the last site I sampled, or next to the last? I went back to find it and I found my flag, but the flag was in the middle of a bunch of plants. So all the plants I thought I cut off, they came back. So I had to abandon the site, because anything growing close to the sampling site will end up taking nitrogen out of the soil, which I can't estimate mineralization because I have plant uptake. And somebody say, well, Howard, take a sample of the plant, add it to the soil. Well, frankly, I don't think it works that way. So if I have weeds or if I have plants growing in my bare spot, I abandon the site. So I try to make sure that I don't goof up. I don't want to lose that bit of data, but that has always been very helpful. Now I have my camera on my hat, so you notice some movement. It's because my hat's moving on my head. Okay. There we go. Now, I was thinking about using Roundup to do this, but on a day like today when there's a little wind, my bare spot could get larger than I want it to be, and so I don't do that. And that's one thing I have to tell the farmers before I start this program with them, is they're going to have a bare spot out in the middle of their field. Nobody has really objected to that, but I think it's always good to let them know you're going to be tearing out their good looking corn. Okay, now I'm pretty sure I got them all. Okay, let's get this last little piece. Got to go underneath them, pull up that growing point. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, I got my bare spot, I have my flag, I have my samples, I already have my geo coordinates. Time to go on to the next site.